Spawning in the top right position of Beckett Industries to start things off. He's representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He is Rogue. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is also for the Dragons, the Phoenix, and the Gamers. He is Zest. And this is going to be an epic one. These guys obviously play with each other a lot, as they are teammates, so they definitely do have a lot of practice sessions where they kind of battle it out. Probably just kind of refine their builds just a little bit. And then obviously in the main tournaments, these guys just go head to head so often. And, you know, it's really hard to say who is the better player in this instance. I think Zest, obviously one of the most innovative players, as he did build quite a big reputation off of his recent Void Ray builds. But, you know, Rogue is one of those players who's just kind of figured those kind of styles out. He can be very aggressive, very attack ready, and be able to kind of be on your side of the map, preventing you from getting that epic buildup of units that is so important with that kind of strategy. So Zest is going to have to be very, very careful about how he kind of plays this one out. As we do see the Overlord just going to get the scout, sees that everything is pretty normal. He sees that it was Cybernetics Core first. Now, while that doesn't tell you a whole lot, it does tell you that Zest is looking to just be a little bit quicker on how quickly he wants to kind of tech up. And there you go, we do have the Warp Gate coming on in first before any sort of tech is thrown down. Looks like it might be Starport. It is Starport. Okay, so Starport doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be Void Rays, as you still do have the kind of Oracle into a couple of Adepts, and then transition into the Robo Facility Twilight Council. So we'll have to keep an eye on what he decides to go here. The Adept does get one drone before having to recall out of there. And by recall, I just mean he shades to the natural. Kind of a little bit opaque there, you know, seeing the bottom of the building. That's kind of interesting little effect. But you know what? I think Rogue recognizes the fact that the wall is not done. And while these aren't game-winning lings, this is still a big nuisance, as Zest is going to have to spend some micro, spend some time kind of just cleaning these up. This is a beautiful scout for Rogue. He just needs to get confirmation on that Oracle, which he does. The Adepts going to be coming in here. They're going to get a little bit of damage. 2 kills apiece. I think they were just lings, though. And, yeah, looking at this, only one drone, but so far Zest is doing a perfect game. Fortunately, it might have jinxed him there as he loses his first unit. That Adept will go down as the Oracle will make its way across. Ooh, these drones are going to be undefended, so that's going to be a quick kill. Even going to get rid of the larva. Now, Zest is one of those players known for his Oracle control. So far, 2 workers going down. And I think he's going to be content with that. You don't want to overextend with this first Oracle, especially as it's starting to run out of that energy. Hang on, there is a bot in my chat. There we go. So now Rogue, he's kind of just splitting around with these lings, looking for any kind of clean pickoffs that he can get. And behind this, Zest is as well, just sending a couple of units out here and there while preparing for a very big Adept Glaive transition. Now, the biggest question here is, will Rogue have enough roaches out in time. He has the roach warrant started, but he is losing a lot of mining time with just these adepts. So Zest is just getting a lot of value out of them, even if they're not getting a ton of kills. Well, the good thing, though, is that Rogue is getting some pickoffs here on some of these adepts, making it so that the attack won't be as powerful. He's just got to be careful not to bleed out too many of these lings. As we do have the first adept wave coming across. I think it's going to be another minute or so before they actually do have glaives. So a little bit too eager from Zest. He will lose two of those adepts very quickly. A third one about to go down. I just don't think that was worth it, as now Rogue going up to Lair will have a much better defense ready for him. Look at that. Rogue is feeling so confident that he's just going to drone up behind all of this. As we do have the third under threat. This reveals the glaives as well. So the Ling's just going to do what they can. They're going to rotate around looking for an opening. But they see all of these adepts. They see how committed Zest is to this attack. 10 roaches, speed. That's all you really need. And I mean, this queen probably wants to fight not by itself. And the roach is actually a little bit exposed here. The shade coming on in. One of those queens takes a lot of damage here, but getting hit with the stasis trap. Oh my goodness. That is an absolute decimation of Rogue's defense. As now he can just fight these roaches 1 on 6,000. And look at that, the drones starting to fall. He shades out a couple here and there, just to the other mineral line. And this is going to be a little bit difficult for Rogue to recover from. He's lost 12 workers, and these adepts are still out on the map. Saving grace, though, Zest just ran into a bunch of queens. I'm loving this from Zest. Just a huge Stargate transition straight into Void Rays, 3 at a time. So now Rogue, as he's going to come in for a bit of an attack, you know, those are going to be able to fight from the sky without too much contention, as the queens are slowly making their way across. But gets a big cancel right there. I don't know if the Void Rays will be out in time, as we have the third base completely deflected here. That will go down as Rogue is just focusing it. And the queens doing what they can, getting rid of the Void Rays. Zest is heavily supply blocked right now. And I think while the Void Ray transition was a beautiful idea, it could have done a lot of good if it was just a couple seconds quicker. Rogue is just an unstoppable force here, and he should be taking game number 1 very, very shortly. And the Void Ray is even starting to go down as he stops microing them. So GG is called. Rogue with game number 1. So already we see Rogue just kind of going for that low ground expansion. This gives him a couple of advantages, but also a few key weaknesses. If you wanted to drop a gateway pylon up here, that's a very short distance to kind of get a reinforcement point to take out that third base early on for any sort of aggressive pushes. But at the same time, if you can keep that up, if you can connect it to the creep and just defend it, you are gonna be able to spread that creep super far forward. So these big queen pulls that we see a lot of Zergs do is just so much more powerful because they have a lot less distance to travel slowly. So that's just a couple of things to keep in mind with that positioning here behind this. Zest isn't really doing anything too crazy, even getting the Nexus before Cybernetics core. So just a good economic opening from both sides. That's not to say that things are going to be all hunky-dory off the back, as there's still a lot of potential here. Zest just being a little bit of a nuisance, as the Protons player is wanting to do. And Rogue, he's going to get a couple of lings, couple of queens, a couple of additional upgrades here, while Zest is just going to be going straight for the Stargate again. Looks like Zest again being a little bit slow to get that wall off will mean that once again Rogue just gets this beautiful scout, sees absolutely everything that he needs to see. And that's just going to tell him, hey, there is the potential for Void Rays. Romanticide still can be a popular map for that Void Ray build. So yeah, that kind of tells him, hey, I have the ability to not only tech up, not only drone up, but I also have the way that I can just be safe. Because Zest is not going to be out on the map anytime soon with this build. And I like this. It looks like Rogue is just going to go for the jugular here, as we do have a ton of lings on the way. I don't even know if that's a complete wall off. It looks like there's a little bit of an angle for the lings to get in. So that might be a big issue here for Zest. We'll have to see if that is indeed a hole in the wall. As we have the lings going to be coming towards the third base, there is nothing to defend right now. The Oracle is already across the map with the Void Ray. And the Adept is so far out of position. So yeah, that third Nexus will go down. And the Void Ray will try and fight one-on-one with the Queen. I think Rogue should pull another Queen pretty soon. But I digress on that point here, as we do see the lings just working their way through. It looks like the Queen did go down. The Oracle getting some good damage. 2 workers going down so far. And now the wall is under siege. That Adept should be able to hold the line, though. Yeah, I don't see the wall. Maybe? Okay, so yeah, Rogue does get in. So these probes are under threat. A couple of Adepts being warped in the main base. And it looks like, unfortunately for Zest, he's not really building a whole lot. Yeah, there you see. He was going for upgrades. He was going for Twilight Council, but he just wasn't going for something to defend. All right. So once again, Rogue just going for a safer third base this time, as he's got the 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock position up there. He will have an easy time to defend this, as Jaganantha, while it is deceptively short rush distance because of the acceleration zones, it's still not really going to be good for too many early starts here from Zest. Now, Zest has been kind of favoring the Stargate in the series so far. We did see a little bit of an Adept Glaive build that went by the wayside. Unfortunately, he just kind of mistimed it. I feel it wasn't sloppy, quote unquote, but it was just a bit ill-timed with the upgrades and everything. So maybe Zest wants to try again with that. We do have Warp Gate Adept, which does tell me more than likely Stargate again. Indeed, it is going to be the Stargate. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is broke, just do it again. See if it's fixed. But yeah, we're gonna have to see if it's gonna be Void Rays or Oracles this time. You know, one thing I just gotta say, like, I know Zest is being very crisp in some of his build orders, but I mean, just leaving the wall open for this long, I don't know if there's an advantage to it at all, since Rogue has shown that he's more than willing to commit some lings to kind of get in there early and harass a bit. I know it kind of just seems like small things here and there, but every small distraction in the early game is 10 times more lethal than the late. Because while you do have these large fights, these huge skirmishes everywhere in the late game, you don't get to the late game unless you're crisp and clean in the early game. Now this is going to be one Void Ray so far, going into Oracle behind it. So Rogue, once again, just going to recognize, hey, I can kind of drone up a little bit, get a few more queens, just make sure that I stay safe versus this. And yeah, I think he's just going to drone up a bit heavier. This time, I don't see too many lings on the production tab, just about 6, which will help out if the adepts do decide to come across the map. But yeah, I think he's going to be pretty safe right now, as we do have the Oracle. We can look for a little bit of damage. Not going to really find too much. There we go. This is the Zest we know and love. He's going back to his old tricks. Even going to get a very fast +1 attack here. So while that will slow down the transition, that can be pretty important for the Void Ray build. It's not going to be too much, and it's just going to make these guys hit so much harder in case Rogue recognizes it and does go for that very, very big queen pull. Everything considered here, we got the lair coming up. We've got the Void Rays building up. It's kind of not really too much to say about this point because it's just going to be this big powering up phase for these two players. I like that he's getting the Robo facility just up and ready, so he should start Immortals after a couple of observers are out. But yeah, Rogue is doing a good job of just keeping vision out on the map with a couple of very well placed lings. Oof. Revelation coming on in, so everything will be seen and revealed for a long, long time. Like Zest just wants to get rid of some of that vision while he's powering up. We got the Overseer going to be coming in. The speed should finish. The Void Ray is right on its tail. So that won't get too much done. That is pretty good for Zest. He gets to hide the fact that he is at about 6 Void Rays now. Look at that. I like this transition a little bit more than Immortals. This is going to force a lot of big moves out of Rogue because the Disruptors will be able to kind of shut down any sort of queens since they won't be able to micro off the creep. That is really smart. Spire coming on in, so a natural transition here from Rogue. As he finally gets all the information out, he sees the Disruptor, he sees the main base, the 3rd Stargate, and everything in between. One thing to note is that Zest is equal in the terms of those bases. He's got his 4th coming on in. While Rogue is not fully developed on this base, he needs a couple of more workers to be so, even though he is on 83 already. So I think the biggest thing for Zest is he has to slow down the transition in any way that he can. Yeah, he did reveal the fact that there are mutas on the map. So he is going to place the Void Rays in a position to intercept. We'll get one quick kill. But that is just a big feint for this big attack coming across. The cannons are in position, and that is enough to shut this down for now. But the Oracle going down will help out immensely. Rogue's finding some angles, but unfortunately, these Void Rays are speed rays, so they will be able to chase down these armies. This is a very good defensive position for him now, since he can get across very quickly. He's going to come in here, get a couple of kills, only 6 for the meantime. They will get out of there. Does lose one of them once again. So now I feel like for Rogue, it's going to come down to probably another one big engagement. I doubt that it will be this kind of skirmishy battle that we're seeing here decide the game. Because from here, his air army is just so powerful that you are going to have to bring all of your forces to bear in order to defend it, or defend against it, as there is a ton of carriers out. So now Rogue completely maxed out. He's gonna have to find his angle soon, as Zest is getting very close to maxing out himself. Oh my goodness, this is about the Protoss' dream army versus the composition that Rogue is going for. See if Rogue is just hitting his head against a brick wall here. +2 just about to finish up, so these guys are super beefy, super tanky. And the biggest problem is for Rogue, he still doesn't have a Hive Tech up. He doesn't have those +3 upgrades available to him. You know, I think upgrades are going to be some of the most important things for him here in these fights, but here we go. The Corruptors trying to get on top of the Voids. They do get one of them, but at the end of the day, those Corruptors can't stick around to fight. For Zest, we don't have any storms, but those Disruptors on the ground just have so much firepower in them. The Queens finally made their way across. Looks like the mutas will be first. They will take a lot of damage here, but the Corruptors are getting absolutely decimated here. The Disruptor shot gets rid of what's on the ground. It's hard to see what's underneath. Just take a look at that. Zest is just being super cost efficient right now. Over 3k mineral difference. And now Rogue being forced back. He is forced to completely go all in on the Corruptors build. But now, you know, since Zest is adding in the Archons, adding in the ground splash damage, those Corruptors are not going to be as effective as you would think. So a little bit too big of an overreaction for Rogue. That ground army will be nice, but it's just too many Corruptors. And here we go. They do get one pickoff here, so trying to focus fire down as many of the Voids as possible, but he has to be careful not to fight next to the carriers. Start to focus them in the Archons, though, getting some good splashes. All things considered, that Corruptor count is being rushed through. The Disruptor getting a beautiful shot right there. And I think Zest is starting to break Rogue here. Another big Zealot Warp-in should seal the deal. Yeah, there you go. Zest puts a point on the board. He will not go quietly into the night. Stargate once again going to be the choice. Obviously, this is kind of Zest's go-to build, which I can understand. His Oracle control is fantastic. His Void Ray builds are immaculate, as we kind of saw. They did outrange and out-macro Rogue, because we did see, remember, Rogue was on equal bases, on 4 bases, for the longest time. And that kind of slowed him down immensely here. If you're going up against a build like this, you have to out-expand them. You have to power up much, much quicker than you would normally be comfortable with. Because once you start building units, there is going to be no stopping. There is no way to kind of sneak in a probe here and there. Yeah, there you go. It is going to be Void Rays once again. I think Rogue kind of recognized that, so that's why he's shooing this away. Even without seeing that, I mean, you don't really need to see it to know that, yeah, he's more than likely going Stargate. Unfortunately for that Overlord, he does not have the speed upgrade, so this Void Ray will find him quite quickly. And that will go down. The Oracle should be making its way across pretty soon, just to get a little bit of extra poking damage. Just, you know, keep your opponent on his toes, keep him from really being too comfortable. So it will be a Void Ray, Void Ray, Void Ray once again, though. Looks like Zest's just going to settle for 2 workers. He takes a lot of hits on that Oracle, so that will be a little bit harder to make work later on. But that's alright. Mostly just want to use it for Revelations now, not really too much for damage. Now once again, Rogue just going to be powering up, gets the drones here and there, just trying to make sure that he does have enough minerals for the next stage of the game. Roach Warren coming on down, 3 more queens. This kind of tells me that more than likely he wants to queen pull. So yeah, you can kind of see he is pushing that creep very far forward. Really just wants to get that kind of avenue so the queens don't have to move too far. Yeah, even going to add in a couple of lings to kind of go around, get some scouting information, and probably get a little bit of damage done. Breaking down the rock wall as well is going to be super important so that his reinforcements can make it quite quickly. Looks like he's cut on 51 drones. So yeah, the queen pull is on the way. He's just got to break down the rocks first. Now, I think Zest kind of has an idea that this is coming. We don't see too many shield batteries in play, just 1 per base. But I think now he's really got those alarm bells ringing in his head, as he's probably seen the queens on the high ground here. The Ravager is morphing in. And yes, Ravager as in singular. Makes it to the high ground. The queens finding a good spot to choke in. Have to be a little bit careful. I think he's actually blocking a lot of those queens out. So a bit of a mistake right there. Just slow down the attack slightly. There are so many Ravagers here. They will get on top of the Cybernetics Corps. Looks like Zest is going to expend all of his energy to keep that alive. But unfortunately, that does mean that he takes a huge bile to the face on a lot of those voids. So now, Rogue starting to press his way forward. The queens are right on the ground. The Immortal has no shield battery energy left to depend on. And unfortunately, that will go down. Oh no. The rest of the shield batteries are down. The shield battery overcharge was already popped, so he cannot rely on that anymore. That's his supply blocked as well, so it's just down to these Void Rays. I don't know if they're enough, though. As he loses all of his tech, the probes starting to go down to the Lings. Those queens still have energy for days. I'd like to point out, so they can transfuse as much as they want. Now, the Void Rays are starting to chew through the Ravagers a little bit, but it's just a slow battle for them. While that's going on, we have a ton of Lings in the main base denying mining for Zest. So he's not really even able to spend this bank, because he's having to focus so hard on defending what's left of his probe line. Oh yeah, this is kind of the I'm done GG move here. The probe's being pulled, the Void Ray's starting to go down, and I think that Zest has been broken here. Rogue will take the series, and that will certainly help his round robin map score in this event that happened last month. There you have it. GG is called.